My name is Gabriel Phiri, commonly known as Ever Missionary Gabi GP. I am a minister of the gospel and I work for a non-profit faith-based called Set Apart International as executive director. I am an entrepreneur. I am also a rapper. I am an author, and I'm married to the beautiful Red Rose Ever Missionary. Been married the last 11 years and a couple months.
So I met him where I used to work, an organization that was specialized in doing sexual and reproductive health in schools and among young people. So every year we used to recruit young people from universities, colleges, and high schools. So he was one of those young people that came to be interviewed. And yeah, that's how I met him. But I must mention that before I actually met him, because at work they knew me as a church girl. But they knew I was in a relationship by then. So there was one of his friends that grew up with him. So he was also known as a church boy. So when coming, I was aware that he was going to come because for some reason that dude thought that would make a good couple because he was a church boy and as a church girl. But that's how we met. No. I was in love with my ex of a couple of years. Yeah. So I was in love, and for me, my philosophy was, if you're in love, tell people you love Jesus, tell people you love your boyfriend. So the whole world, I think, knew that I was in love. So even when he was coming, even though I heard that from his friend, I was just like, I'm already in love and I'm ready to get married to my ex.
So the organization she was working for called me for an interview because I was in Lusaka. The organization was based in Kabwe. So I traveled down to Kabwe for that interview. I was actually being interviewed to be trained as a peer educator in sexual reproductive health. So when I got to the interview, I had no idea what sort of setup. I was expecting a very typical panel questions type of interview. And then the moment I got there, I was actually very late. I think I must have been
Extremely
like an hour
late.
late,
Yeah.
an hour plus late. So I was just taking my chances. When I got there, I found that they were actually doing group sessions. So the interview was you need to be part of the group and you need to then participate in the conversation. And that was basically it. So the group that I was assigned to, she was the group lead because she was the member of staff assigned to that group. So that was my first encounter with her. Didn't really think much of her because I was not interested in light, skinny girls. That was not my thing. So yeah, I think she was just one of those girls that was in the vicinity.
Yes.
So interestingly, we were friends, workmates actually, because then I got called into that organization. I was trained, started doing the work of peer education and all of that, and then eventually got admitted as a member of staff into the organization. So we became workmates, and then in the process of that, I actually discovered that she was interested in gospel rap music, which was quite intriguing because it was the first time I was finding a girl that can actually rap, and she was rapping to gospel music. So that was quite intriguing. So we started doing ministry together. Of course, she was in a very serious relationship at the time. I was having my own pursuits, eventually did get into a relationship with someone. So during that period, we were workmates, and it was a period of like 4 years. I did leave the country at some point, 2009, and we kept in touch on the ministry front. I think it was when I flew back into Zambia that I think things had moved on for me. I had gone through my own processes. She had broken up, and as God would have it, things unfolded. I saw things that I did not see in her before that prompted me to say maybe this could go this direction.
Okay, so just to add on, so I was in a very serious relationship. I think for me, my philosophy growing up was I should marry my first boyfriend. So, and so yeah, I was in this serious relationship, I think for 8 years, because for me, I was determined that I was going to get married to this dude because I was in love with him and everything. But I think at a point in my life when I had prayed to God that I needed him to just rearrange my life so that he should align my life to his will. And that's when like things started to fall apart, including my relationship. So by that time, he was away. So when I was going through my own processes, he was away, when I was having these encounters with God and so on, until we broke off with my relationship, with my ex. So when he came back, to be honest, like I didn't really think much about him because it was more like a mentor to me. He used to mentor me in rap and other, in ministry, so to say. So, so I remember when I broke up with my ex, I told myself, I don't want to have anything to do with these relationships and stuff like that. And I told God I want to be alone and just spend time serving you. So it was, I think, a couple of months after that, that for some reason, when he came back from wherever he was, we continued to do ministry together, and then
And she hadn't told me she had
No, I
broken
didn't
up,
tell him.
by
I
the way.
told myself I'm not going to tell anybody that I broke off that relationship with my ex because I just didn't want unnecessary attention. So anyways, we continued doing ministry until, because I knew I was single and he was single, until I think we started to like each other. How did we know this? By spending so much time on the phone and so on. So it was one time that we're talking and we're like, wait a minute, like we talk for hours, we seem to like each other and we are ministry partners, and if this has to work, we have to be sure because a lot is at stake. Anyhow, so that's what happened. But then obviously because we're talking to each other, like I started to like him also, and I think he liked me, but we said we needed to sort of pray about it and ensure that God was in the business. So that's how I prayed about it. God answered immediately, but for him, I think it took him like a month to hear from God. So
I was in the mountains.
So maybe, so when we discovered that we liked each other, we said we needed to pause, we needed to stop calling each other for long unless it was really necessary, and we went somehow separate ways to go and pray about it. But then afterwards, I think when, obviously I heard from God, but he had to hear from God, and eventually when he did, we had to sit down and just define the relationship. And I think at that point, it was very clear. I think you can speak better on that, but it was very clear that it was just beyond the relationship. We wanted to progress, into marriage, right?
Yeah, so for me, because obviously that period when we were spending a lot of time on the phone, it was, I think for both of us, it became a bit alarming because we were thinking, we need to define this before we find ourselves in a space totally unplanned. So that's how we kind of broke it off, decided to just go our separate ways, to just spend time in prayer. So of course she had her time, I had my own time. It took me some time for me, not sure why. But so eventually I did get the conviction, and it was so strong. I remember vividly, I was actually in Chipata. I went to see my parents, and doing devotion in the morning, it's something that I spent time just seeking the face of God about, and I felt this sense of agency that I needed to go and make known my intentions and clarify my position. So it was that day that I first caught up one of my closest friends at the time, who was also my prayer partner. I told him, hey bro, this is what's going on. This is how I feel. I'm sensing something very urgent. I need to move. And he didn't beat about the bush. He was like, bro, if God has spoken, then don't hold back. Make the move now. I hung up. The moment I hung up, I called her. and it was a struggle to get the words out.
Yeah, but for me, I could hear his heart because at that point, obviously my ex had to come back and had prayed, like I said, God had told me he was the one, but then I think he was busy doing his own business. So I said, God, your dude is not ready, so let me continue, you know. So, and I could, yeah, I think I also had other, you know, sort of other candidates and so on. But at that point, I think I was almost making up my mind to sort of try to make something work with somebody else. So when the time he came, because he's generally a very good communicator, but the time he came, he struggled, but I could hear his heart because I knew had he delayed for a day, like I was going to be gone, you know. So yeah, so that's how he survived.
Yeah. So for me, I don't know, I had this philosophy that if I'm going to get into a relationship with a girl, it has to be serious business. So the day that I actually took out to formally ask her to be in a relationship, I made it very clear, like,
I'm not here to play.
I'm not here to play games, I'm here for serious business. And for me, the end goal is marriage. So once we start this, it's go forward. We're not turning back. So I guess we had the conversation, and of course she said yes. And it's from there, from that very day, that we actually started talking about the wedding and how we were gonna introduce each other to our parents.
But you had a small problem, right?
Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, you can talk about it.
No, you say it.
Yeah, so obviously he was in love. We were sure that we were going to get married, but we had one little problem, you know? Like, yeah, he was...
I was broke. Broke, busted, and disgusted. That was it. I'd left my job, coming back to Zambia, thinking I'm going to be an entrepreneur. And it was hard on the streets, so yeah, I was really broke, but... for some reason, yeah, I had a lot of faith. I had lots of vision, by the way, lots of vision on stuff that I was gonna do. But at the time, very, very little money, if at all, was in my pockets. So that was the main challenge.
Yes, so like just to say that it as much as we'd have loved to get married as soon as possible, but we didn't have money, you know. In as much as I was obviously working at that moment, but as a man, obviously, you have to pay the bride price and so on and so forth. Yeah, so I think that's what delayed even our getting together, because we're hoping and praying and fasting and seeking the face of God.
That the heavens would open.
You know.
So it took us a little longer than planned. I think our initial projection was like a year, 6 months.
A year and a half, yeah.
Because we projected based on, because we go to Bread Life Church, and the projection is you have to inform the church 6 months prior at the barest minimum. So we had that in mind for the premarital counseling. And then, of course, had the 1 year projection to put things together. But then the initial plan didn't work out because obviously resources were a challenge. But after about 2 years, so we formalized the relationship in 2011. And we got married in 2013.
Yeah, so 2011 May and got married in August 2013.
August 2013. Yeah.
Okay, so the good thing about, I think, where I come from is that I think our parents really emphasize the need to marry your friend, the need to marry someone that you can spend the rest of your life with. Even though obviously they used to talk about how you need to find someone who can provide and so on. So I think for me, they respected the fact that, you know, I was in love with him. My dad actually had a date with him and interacted with him. And I think it was clear that he was an intelligent young man who had a vision. He was just in a sort of bus space. So yeah, so he was not disqualified.
She didn't tell them I was broke though.
I told them you're an entrepreneur.
Yeah, she told them I was, trying to make it out in the world. Yeah. So she didn't give all the details. I'm sure if they knew, they would have had a few reservations.
Yeah.
But
but I must mention that a few of my relatives, extended family, like when they met him, because he was a G, like
Gangster
yeah,
to the core.
maybe gangster to the core. So like it didn't look like the husband material. So some of
Not at
those,
all.
yeah, thought that maybe I was wasting time with him
Yeah.
because it didn't look like it.
I didn't talk like it.
No,
I
no.
didn't dress like it. I didn't walk like it. Well, I was a typical gangster.
Yeah.
So for me, I think because I had never, up until that point, I had never approached mom or dad to tell them about a girl that I liked. So I think the fact that I approached them to tell them that there's actually someone that I'm intending to settle down with, I think they took it seriously because also of how I presented it. I gave them an idea of who this person was and what my plans were, and so they were happy with it. They hadn't met her because obviously we were in Osaka. She was in Kabwe, I was in Osaka. They were in Chipata in the Eastern Province. So I described pretty much what she looked like, and I think my sister had met her, so my sister had an idea. But they were happy. They were looking forward to meeting her. Engagement. That was an interesting one because this woman right here had given me subtle warnings, like I don't like big public surprises. If you try and do anything out of this world, I might just disappoint you. So she gave me an idea of basically what the whole thing should look like. So it was a very, very private matter. Because of that, I had plans. I had plans, but because of that level of warning that I was given, I couldn't execute them. So it was very private. Asked her.
In your words, you said it was very boring, right?
Yeah, it was very boring compared to what I was planning to do. It was mighty boring. Yeah. So private setup. We were chilling, having a meal, and then put out the ring, gave my speech, and told her like, "Yo, I'm in business. Are you ready to do life with me?" And she did not say a word. And I asked her to open her mouth and communicate properly. And that's how she said yes.
Yeah.
And that's how.
Yeah, but just to clarify that, it's because, like I said, I was coming from a long-term relationship. Yes, and I was still trying to heal, so I didn't want any noises, any surprises and stuff like that. So I just wanted to sort of have some time to myself to just soak everything in, Yeah.
I did my homework. So how I know a ring size is because I'm quite notorious for gifts and little things and whatnot. So the time that we actually started the relationship, a couple months into the relationship, I got her a promise ring, what I call a promise ring, to just reassure her, say, dude might be broke right now, but yo, he's on the way. So, so how I found out the size is, of course, I studied her hands. And then I went to the store where I was gonna get that promise ring from, and based on the lady that was selling the rings, I could make a determination to whether it was gonna fit or not. So the size of the promise ring is what informed the size of the engagement ring. Yeah, so interestingly for me, that encounter that I had in the closet, before I actually made the call to her, sealed the deal. It gave me so much peace and reassurance that the journey that I am about to embark on is endorsed by heaven. I knew in my heart of hearts that I was going the right direction. So she made a humble request. She openly told me to look, I'm in a bit of a space right now. So if in case in our conversation I speak about my ex and all of that, please do bear with me. I was just like, yo, for me, it's a done deal on my end. I'm gonna give you all the time that you need. Matter of fact, I'm gonna pray for that brother. I know God's gonna take care of him as far as you are concerned. For me, it's a done deal. So there was no malice, no pressure, reservations whatsoever. I was gonna give her all the time that she needed, and so it happened.
Yeah, and I think for me, it helped me to heal quickly because he created this environment where sometimes I just wake up and think about my ex, what is going on in his life and so on. And I'll talk it through with him. And he was chilled. He gave me a listening ear. I don't even remember how I healed because I wasn't sort of withholding what I was feeling. So yeah, so thank you, dude.
My pleasure.
No.
No. So
we got engaged in January 2012.
2012, yeah.
And we got married in August 2013.
2013, yes.
Yeah.
So
the wedding, I can
the
start?
wedding, yes.
So the wedding, so like he said for the engagement, I was like, dude, I'm still healing. Please give me some space. I don't want any, and so on. But for the wedding, even though I must mention that we started planning for our wedding before we even had money, right?
Yeah.
So we used to talk a lot in our relationship. So we used to plan a lot as well. So for our wedding, because we are both rappers, we wanted it to be hip hop.
All the way gangsta.
But we felt pity for our sort of family. So we said we were going to do 1 or 2 songs, but we wanted it to be, so we wanted it to be hip hop, So, so we kind of planned how our wedding was. We said we're going to play hip-hop music throughout, gospel hip-hop, of course, throughout. We planned that I was going to come in with my rap song. We planned that he was going to come in with his rap song. And we planned that all the songs that we're going to play during our wedding, even for the lineup, it was going to be hip-hop. So I think planning was exciting, even though it required a lot of faith, because at that point, we didn't really have the money. So what we did, we dreamed and planned and packed the book where we used to put our wedding dreams. And we had like 3 options. If you're going to have a lot of money, option 1, option 2, and option 3. I think we started for option 2. So looking back, I think what was exciting about our wedding is all the dreams that we put in that plan came to pass. I came in with a rap song and he did the same, and yeah. I think it was okay. I got it online. At least I had an idea of the dress that I needed. So, yeah. It was not that difficult, I think.
Easy peasy.
But not easy. Yeah, not easy. But it was, I got it online and I think I was happy with it,
Wow. I remember it's something that I kept playing in my mind prior to the wedding itself. We had kind of already agreed that she was gonna come in with Here Comes the Bride, and everything was playing in my head. And her walking in with a dad, it really warmed my heart. It was like, wow, so this thing is actually happening today. Like, wow. I was in a bit of a semi-trance in a sense, because I was like trying to soak in the moment. But yeah, it was really beautiful.
I was so excited. I think for me it was, thank God that you are finally here. I think even as I was walking down, like I was staring at him, we're staring at each other. I think for both of us, it was experiencing the faithfulness of God, because like I said, our relationship didn't start on that level. So seeing God perform wonders, it was just something beautiful. I must mention that I lost my mom a couple of years before my wedding, so I was really anxious, I thought I was gonna be in tears and so on, because I was looking forward to having my mom and my older sister there. But of course, I prayed to God. I said, God, I want to enjoy my wedding. I don't want to cry. I know I'm emotional, but I don't want to cry. And God answered me. And walking down that aisle, I didn't shed no tear. I was excited. I was full of joy, and just seeing him stand at the altar was so amazing.
I could see her eyes and her smile through the veil, just to confirm that she's not crying. So I was We've been married the last 11 years and how many months?
About 4 months.
Yeah, 11 years.
We have 2.
We have 2 kids. First is 6
plus, and second is 2 plus.
2 plus.
Yeah, do you want to start?
Yeah, with pleasure. What has kept our love alive? There are a couple of things. I think God stands out as number 1. So I think for both of us, when we were praying about our life partners, I think that was the biggest thing. We wanted to be in love with somebody that was in love with God more than they were in love with their spouse. And that was prayer answered for us. And that's primarily because we strongly believe that if we had God at the center, it was going to bring everything together. So that's the biggest thing. Anything that challenges my relationship with God will always be thrown to the back burner. And in our marriage, I think that's something that we have upheld for the longest time. And it goes as far as every decision that we make as a couple, minor, major, however you might want to phrase or call it, we always draw inspiration from the faith that we have in God. And that's the biggest thing. The second one I would say would be our being deliberate about just being mentored, staying accountable. So we both come from Set Apart International, which is a mentorship platform, and it's big on mentorship and accountability. And we believe, as we are taught, that the older, the bigger you get, the more responsibility, the higher you go, the more accountability you need, the more mentorship that you need. So for us, it's always been about finding that platform that's going to help us grow. So if there's a seminar, marriage seminar, we are there. If there's a conference, if there's any place that's going to help us grow in our marriage relationship. We say we are married material junkies. So anything that is going to speak into our marriage, we're always keen on diving into that. And then lastly, so I can leave some room for her, is our open and honest communication policy. From the time of courtship, especially the times we would have conflict, differences, and all of that, we said, look, we can't work with assumptions and all of that. So this relationship will run on an open and honest communication policy. So whatever you're feeling, whatever is going on, you need to let me know. I need to let you know, so we can work through it together. Those would be the main thing.
Yes, and I think for us, we're also deliberate about prioritizing each other. We strongly believe that if you do not prioritize your marriage, it will not work. We do understand that there are we are both very busy people, but we have our order of priorities set. We know that if we are not working on our marriage, we are not prioritizing our marriage, it's pretty much impossible for the marriage to work. So we do prioritize our marriage, and this looks like obviously spending some time together just to connect, just to catch up, going out on mini retreats, the two of us, just to sort of, refresh and align. It looks like serving God together. We try as much as possible to do pretty much everything we can together, so that in as much as we are busy doing the work of God, at least we can find some time to sort of connect even as we are serving God. And I think it's also mentioned that we are big at growing together, because we strongly believe that, yes, you can be good at communicating, you can be good at resolving conflicts, but your skill is supposed to grow. So we are passionate about trying to improve the way we communicate with each other, trying to improve the way we resolve conflicts, trying to improve the way we deal with issues. And we acknowledge that at every given transition and season, we are required to apply wisdom and knowledge of that level. So at every point, we try as much as possible to even gain the knowledge that we need, the wisdom that we need for sort of future transitions and so on. So those are some of the things that, and maybe lastly but not the least, I think just the fact that we are passionate about godly marriages. So we are actively mentoring young people in relationships. We are actively mentoring people that are married. We are actively serving in our church in the marriage ministry. We are both trained premarital, or should I say marriage counselors. We're both trained psychologists, therapists. So I think all this helps us to sort of work on our marriage, because even as we talk to other couples, we're able to sort of learn from couples and just try to apply what we are learning. And just making it simple, like I love the fact that it lets me be, a rapper I am, If it was somebody else, they're going to say, look, you're 40 years, you have to behave like a 40-year-old. But if I can rap, I'm myself, I don't have to pretend to be who I'm not, I can still do what I love to do. We are just buddies, we just chill like that, So we just look at the clock and they're like, oh, it's already 11 years that we've been married, So like all these help us to sort of keep our, fire burning.
So number one would be her love for God, which translates into the passion that she has for loving people, being there for people, passion for young people specifically, and ministry to young people, which is literally like the intersection set for us as far as pursuit of purpose is concerned. For me, that one is like just off the charts. The second one I'd say would be just her openness and honesty. I always tell her to say that she is the most open and honest person that I have ever met. And by honest, I mean like adherence and commitment to truth. I think prior to meeting her, I had a few bad encounters, unmet expectations, especially in the area of just truthfulness and just being real with stuff. And that for me just seals the deal, because then I know we're having a conversation, there's a lot of integrity, there's a lot of honesty. I feel very safe because of that. I don't have to second guess certain things that she says and all of that, which nicely feeds into the whole open and honest communication policy for us. Very helpful.
Thank you. And for me, the first one is obviously your love for God and your godly character. I just love how you don't just love God, but you demonstrate in your character. Because I think that's one of the things that I prayed for. I needed a man who just doesn't love God on the pulpit, but even when he's alone, like, he should be able to fear God. And the second one, I love how you support me. I'm so sure that if it wasn't of your support, like, I wasn't going to be where I am now. You supported me to do the first album, hip-hop album. You supported me in my career, in my school, in my ministry, in everything. And I just love how you get excited, when God is elevating me. And for me, it's something that I am super grateful for and something that I appreciate. Because there are some husbands that, like to sort of, to suppress their wives because they're intimidated, because they think that, but I just love the fact that you let me flourish. You let me blossom. That's why maybe call me a blooming
hibiscus.
Yeah.
Words I'd like to hear from her, obviously her encouragement, especially in tough times, difficult patches. she's very good with words of affirmation and just giving feedback. So whether it's appreciating me for the work that I'm doing to take care of the family, how I'm spending time with her and the kids. Yes, sometimes work can get busy and a lot of other things, but her reminding me that she appreciates the time that I am setting aside, regardless of the busy schedule, to just spend time with her and the kids. That is quite refreshing. The encouragement also just in the area of ministry, because sometimes, especially when you're working with young people, it can get a bit discouraging, especially if you don't kind of get the kind of energy, the kind of progress that you want to see. But just hearing her spur me on and reminding me that this is God's work and that we need to give it our all, that is fuel for the journey.
Yes, I like to hear him telling me that he loves me, he appreciates me, and obviously telling me that he's proud of me. Yeah. I love that.
Okay, so my thoughts for people that are struggling will be based on scripture. There is nothing impossible with God, especially when it comes to marriage. I think the realization that this was God's idea to begin with is important. It's important to revisit the foundation. If you notice that there's something wrong with the walls of the house, the roof, the building overall, it tells you a thing or two about the foundation. So it's important that you revisit that. Do what we call in my Pentecostal upbringing some spiritual mapping. Is there anything on there? Because the marriage is multidimensional. There's a spiritual element. There's a natural, physical element to it. There are relational components to it. So in any of those spheres, what are some of the foundational things that you think need to be addressed? I know the t-shirts that we're wearing today are saying it takes two to make it work. So obviously your partner needs to come to the party as well. So if they're willing to have a conversation, if they're willing to get help, make sure you get help. It's always important to not think that you can work things out just between the two of you. There's platforms, there's places that you can reach out to. So just that level of commitment and determination. Say, look, things may be bad right now, but this is just a season. This too shall pass. We can get through this. We can get some help, and we can make it out of this situation.
Yeah. So for me, in case you're watching and you're saying, oh, couple goals, I also want to get married, my encouragement to you is do not be desperate, to get married, because marriage is not a destination, it's an introduction to something bigger. I think the problem that most of young people make, they think marriage is a destination and then they make the wrong decision, So if you are watching us today, want to encourage you to not get desperate for marriage, seek the face of God concerning marriage, work on yourself, do you need healing? Are there some insecurities that you need to work on? How is your identity in Christ? Because your identity in Christ will be tested in a relationship and in marriage. And it's your relationship with God that, will make you stand in marriage. So that's number one. Number two, get accountability. Get mentorship. Be accountable to someone who is, number one, godly and older than you. Let them mentor you in the areas of relationship. It's almost impossible for you to do a relationship God's way alone. You need someone that you're accountable to, someone that you can share your weaknesses with, your burdens with, so that even as you do that relationship, it's a relationship that pleases God. And I want to emphasize that if you need a godly marriage, you need to do the relationship God's way. It's impossible for you not to please God in a relationship and expect your marriage to work, because those are seeds that you are sowing for your marriage. So pursue purity in your relationship, so that God, by God's grace, you can sort of enter into marriage according to God's plan. And remember that accountability and mentorship doesn't end. It's not just for a relationship. We've been married for 11 years, but from inception, we have people that you're accountable to. there are people that I can call and say, oh, my husband needs help, ABCD. There are some people he can call right now. You know, we are so accountable, our lives are open, and there are people that we can report each other to. So when you start mentorship from the word go, it becomes easier even in marriage. I strongly feel that one of the reasons why marriages are breaking, why there are a lot of divorces, is because people think it's just the two of us, you know, we got this. You know, they don't know that marriage is work. Marriage needs godly tools, godly knowledge. So yeah, so those are some of the things that I'll say in case you're waiting to get married. But marriage is beautiful. It's a heaven on earth.
Pium, 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 pium.
Perpetual honeymoon is possible. Fulfilling marriages are possible.
Amen.
You know, so you don't have to grow old when you get married. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it takes two to make it work. Yes, it takes two to make it work. So we pray that even your relationship will be godly and you have a fulfilling marriage.
My name is Gabi GP. I have a missionary, Gabriel Phiri.
My name is Red Rose missionary, Rosemary Zulu Phiri, and
This is how we met.